Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film Red State. Now, Red State is Kevin Smith's new film. It is a horror movie, for most of it, an evil preacher played by Michael Parks, fire and brimstone kind of preacher, kind of like, I guess, your fear of what someone from a red state would be, thus the title. And he has kidnapped 3 kids who are planning on having sex with the same woman at the same time, who is played by Melissa Leo, who gets them drunk and then they pass out because they're drugged, and then they come and go and try to kill them all in their creepy preacher kind of church setting. Like most kids who grew up in the 90s and liked movies, I watched a lot of Kevin Smith. And from Clerks to Jay and Silent Bob, I was a big fan. And I can honestly tell you, I don't think I've ever really liked his movies as much as I did when I was in high school. You know, also at that time he was making Jersey Girl, and then Clerks 2 happened, and I saw Cop Out, and that was horrible. And so now I'm just like not as interested. It kind of reminds me of a band you were once really into, and now you're just like embarrassed. You don't want anyone to even remember you like them. So I saw Red State, and I think Red State shows kind of the problems with Kevin Smith, is that he's not a very good director. His films are never very well shot or edited or paced anymore. It's advertised as a horror movie. I think it starts as a horror movie, and then it becomes like this weird ATF shootout with John Goodman. I mean, the plot summary I told you at the beginning with the 3 kids, that happens at the beginning, but then John Goodman appears, and I mean, I love John Goodman. I thought he's the best part of the whole movie. Those scenes are fine, but it just felt inappropriate, and like the movie didn't know how to make a point with the horror plot. So it's almost like From Dusk Till Dawn, where it's like it's a kidnapping movie, and then it feels like Tarantino hit a writer's block and then it became a vampire movie. And this feels the same way, where he's writing a horror movie, he doesn't know the point, so he does this plot twist because it feels like he was just lost, and like the film didn't know how it could make it. I mean, it's an 80-minute film, it's stuffed with all this different crap, and like you can tell it's a low-budget film. There's like a scene with John Goodman talking in this horse stables, or they cut away from a big resolution to this gunfight to just have them talk about it. Some of that stuff actually worked really well, even though it was obviously there because they wanted to, you know, work around a small budget, but it actually worked pretty well. And a lot of times in these movies it just feels cheap in a bad way, and you're just like, oh, why didn't you show us that? It just feels like kind of a cop-out. This movie, I think, does that a lot better than his more recent work. In some ways, it's a little better directed, but it's so misguided. It doesn't really, I don't know exactly the point it's trying to make. Is it like Red State exploitation? Kind of, but it's just not that great at it. You know, I wish it had kind of played more on its Red State-ness than this whole like John Goodman plotline. Although I like John Goodman, it's shot and made almost like a student film with a large budget, you know, instead of, I mean, he just got off of doing a movie with Bruce Willis, and then now he's doing like this. Is just a little bizarre, you know. I feel like, I mean, Kevin Smith hasn't really evolved as a filmmaker one bit, which is kind of disappointing. You know, I think in the 90s everyone thought once he gets rid of these Jay and Silent Bob guys, he's going to go on to his real promise, and that didn't happen. Kevin Smith movies always look pretty cheap, but shooting it on video like somehow made it even cheaper, which is kind of, I guess, an accomplishment in some ways. I think he really wanted to make a statement, you know, with this movie. You know, it's like trying to be sensational, but it's just kind of like bland and boring in the end because it doesn't have the point to being sensational. You know, you can be sensational without a point, and you can only go so far with it. And I think this film like gets past that pretty early on, and then we're having this gunfight for little to no reason. How much of it is really a horror movie? I can't recommend Red State, and I don't know why I bother with Kevin Smith anymore. I kind of feel like maybe this is good, but maybe this is it. And I probably won't ever see that hockey movie. And you know, sometimes it's sad to see, you know, directors who you used to like and used to really like, and then you get to a point you're like, oh, I don't even care anymore. And you know, that's, I guess, how I am with Kevin Smith. I don't think it's just because I've matured. It's also because these movies weren't that strong to begin with. It's kind of gotten a little pathetic, I think. So if you have seen Red State and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to. like Jane Silent Bob. That was fun. And I like Clerks. Everything else is a little too wordy. I guess that's the one thing. It wasn't too scripted. He used to be so scripted it was ridiculous. So I guess, you know, but it still wasn't good without that, you know. I don't know.